Now that we've learned the rules for how to create variables, it's time to actually see how to declare them in a program and assign them values. So let's start code blocks and work on that now. So click on the Start menu, select Code Blocks. Once it loads, we want to create a new project. It's a console application, so we'll select that icon, click Go. Click Next past that splash screen, select C++, and we'll call this var decl, which stands for variable declaration, just kind of a way to distinguish this from some other program that we're going to create. Click Next, select the new GCC compiler, and click Finish. Move over to the sources area here, expand it, double-click main.cpp. Here's our program template. Erase over cout hello world. We don't need that anymore. And now we're ready to start. To declare a variable, we provide the program with a data type and a variable name. So if I want to create an integer variable called salary, I'm going to write int salary semicolon. This is an example of a variable declaration statement. What I did just there was create something called a comment. A comment is a piece of text that the compiler ignores, but is there for you or someone else reading your program to look at. Comments can be at the end of a line or start a new line, and you write a comment by writing 2 forward slashes followed by the comment. So here's an example of a comment at the end of a line. I can start a line with a comment, but then that's all there can be on that line. So let's do a couple more examples of variable declarations. Let's create a string variable to store someone's first name. So we'll say string first name, semicolon. And let's write a double to store some type of rate, so we'll name that double rate. So as you see, variable declaration statements are fairly simple. They just consist of a data type followed by a variable name and a semicolon. Once you've declared a variable, then you're ready to assign it a value. We do that by writing something called an assignment statement. An assignment statement consists of a variable followed by the equal sign, which is the assignment operator, followed by a value or an expression. So for example, we could write salary equals 40,000, or for rate, we could say rate equals 0.2 times 0.3. That's an example of an expression. We'll talk later about arithmetic expressions, but that's just a variation on an assignment statement I thought I should cover here. Let's give the first name a name, just so we'll be complete. Notice that with strings, it always puts the whole string inside the double quote, so when you want to add the semicolon, you have to move outside the string to assign the semicolon to end the statement. So there's some examples of variable declarations and assignment statements. Let me add a comment here to signify that. One last thing you can do with the variable declaration and assignment is write it all in one line. So for example, I could write something like this. Here I'm creating a variable named age, which is an integer, and I'm assigning it the value 23. When you know at the time of declaration what you want the value of the variable to be, you can just do it in one statement. This is sometimes called an initialization statement. So we'll add a comment for that right there. Finally, before we leave the concept of variable declaration and assignment behind, you can also declare more than one variable of the same type on a single line. You do that by writing the data type once, followed by a list of variable names, each one of them separated with a comma. So there I have created 2 string variables, middle name and last name, in one line, which saves you a lot of time and trouble not having to continually type the data type. However, once I've declared those variables, I still have to assign them on separate lines. There's no way to combine an assignment statement into one line. Well, I'm sorry, there is one way, but it's kind of uncommon. We'll talk about that at a different time. And let's give Mary Ann a last name, and there we go. So, you've learned how to declare variables using the data type and the variable name. You've seen how to assign a value to a variable using the assignment operator, which is the equal sign. I should also mention that if you want to compare 2 things to see if they're equal, there's a different operator for that. That's the double equal sign, or the equality operator. We'll look at that later. Then I showed you how to write an initialization statement, which combines a variable declaration with an assignment in one line. And I also showed you how to declare multiple variables on the same line as long as they're of the same data type. We'll wrap this section up in the next video with an exercise that'll combine the Hello World program with working with variables.